Oh, you're gonna have to read the comments.
All right, I will do that. We should be live. Welcome to Talking Investing. I'm Tom.
And I am George in an undisclosed location, someplace in the south of the United States, looking for the solutions. I'm trying to find where Bitcoin is going to fall to.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
You're on a road trip looking for the Bitcoin answers.
I'm asking everybody if they've heard of cryptocurrency, which, by the way, I don't know if anybody else ever does this. Does anybody else just go out and ask people, hey, do you guys know anything about cryptocurrency? And hear what they say and be in shock that no one knows anything about it?
Most of the rest of us don't talk to strangers.
Oh, I talk to anybody. Hey,
I know you do. I've been there.
I mean, dude, like I'm going to a place called Johnny's Pizza, Johnny's New York Pizza for dinner tonight. Okay. Authentic, recommended. They're all across the United States. And this is a free endorsement, by the way. This is not paid, but they make their own. I don't know if anybody else likes.
Which one are you going to?
I'm going to one in Brazelton, Georgia, by the way.
No,
Brazelton, Georgia.
You're supposed to be at an undisclosed location.
I don't care. So anyways, they make homemade ranch dressing that is amazing. If you like ranch dressing, man, is this good. It's freaking amazing. So anyways, and I'm going to ask people, I'll do it, Tom, and I'll interview them and I'll ask people if they know what cryptocurrency is.
Bring the camera.
I'll bring it because I bet you, what's funny is people that know crypto are usually like between 20 and like 34, maybe like 20 and 34, 18 and 34 is probably the people that know crypto. Anybody else, they don't know anything about it.
We should have 5 questions that you ask them. We got to brainstorm 5 because it can't just be, do you know cryptocurrency?
Okay, so
because we got to ask them a question where they need to prove that they either know it or don't know.
That is the question for the chat. Hang on, my jet's flying by. Hang on.
Gregor is asking you, how are you doing, George?
I am troubled.
George,
I'm like a bridge over troubled waters right now. But I'm telling you right now, dude, can I tell people what I believe or no? Or can I tell people what I believe?
As long as it's PG-13 or less. I just want to say hello to Ricky and hey, Mark.
Tom's doing the voice info today.
Ricky is saying, what is a blockchain? I think is one of the questions we should ask. What
is a blockchain? So, would you like to know?
No,
how many coins do you get rewarded? Sorry.
That's too deep. That's too far in. The man on the street or woman does not need to know that.
I should grab that book. I'm going to recommend this book.
How about name one cryptocurrency exchange? How do you buy and sell cryptocurrency?
I'm going to start recommending that guy's book. We're going to put it on Discord. So if you're not a member of Discord, please join Discord. And we're going to a guy wrote a book about 21 million, everything divided by 21 million, I think is what it's called. Isn't that what it's called? Everything divided by 21 million.
Everything divided by 21 million, yes.
Yep.
He is a Bitcoin purist. We met him at the conference in Miami.
And I'm going to be honest, I finally read his book when Bitcoin plummeted here recently. I finally said, you know what? I'm going to read this guy's book. And what Bitcoin was designed for has not changed. And what Bitcoin is going to do has not changed. Everything that's happening in the middle is just to scare you.
It's fear. It's fear. I got Colton asking, George, how's your drama with the golf course? Whatever happened?
Oh, this is a good one. I sold the course. The check cleared, and I am no longer... You just opened up a story. If you guys want, I guess you want to hear it, you're going to hear it. So that golf course was in Atlanta, Georgia. I finally we won 2020 assessment taxes. In 2020, they did the same as 2019. But 2021, the way the taxes work in any county or in any city, it's all the same. It's the value is based on the first day of the first year of that tax season. So for 2021, your taxes are what the property looked like on January 1st of 2021. So on this golf course, it had no greens and it was fields and some weeds. And they're trying to say it's worth $1.6 million. And they're trying to tax me like almost like $100,000 on the property. I'll give you a little backstory. I bought the property for $100,000. The reason I got the property so cheap is because when I bought it, the taxes were $160,000. So first year, right out of the gate, boom, I paid $160,000 in taxes. So basically,
you bought
the county,
it for $260.
$260. So basically, the county's doing the exact same thing they did last time. Because here's why. You're never going to believe this. They own golf courses. Fulton County is probably the largest owner of golf courses. That's problem number one. Problem number two is they need to keep their tax digest up as a valuation. So when I did my valuation, I mean, tell me if you guys think this would make sense or not make sense, is I took the closest golf course to our golf course to determine the value. And they said, you can't do that because that's out of Fulton County. Does that even make sense? It's still the closest golf course. It's still what's called like, kind, and quality.
You're dealing with the government, so
I just can tell you right now. I'm going to tell you right now, never has an experience been so unpleasant as that experience. They would not let me go in without a mask.
Hello, Martin. Martin says hello to Tom and George. Garrett, hello.
I feel weird not being able to read this stuff, by the way.
Rob S. says, good evening, Tom and George.
Maybe I can do this. Maybe I can't see. Ooh, I can do this.
Hey. Now we can't see you, though.
You can't? That's okay.
You're
They don't. I'm ugly.
Now they can't see. Rob was commenting on your haircut.
Yeah.
So Garrett,
emoji, right?
Huh? Yeah.
You guys are so silly. Like, hey, if you're watching like the stream, I don't know if is the sound coming through, Tom, or no?
Yeah. Well, I'm hearing the sound. Everybody out there, let me know if you can hear George or if he disappeared. Sometimes I can't tell because I can hear him and then you guys can't hear him.
I can't do the. Hang on, can I do the chat this way? No, I can't do that. It doesn't matter. I can't. I won't be able to do it that way.
Garrett is asking, Tom, just finished watching your videos today. Just wondering, do you expect HUT to make it through all of this if some of the miners do go out of business? So, yes, HUT is very near, if not at the top of my list for survivors. And they took a very different strategy. I think I did a video on HUT, so if I didn't... Oh, you know what? I talked to Sue Ennis last week for a while, so that interview is up, and if I haven't done it...
Anus?
She's a friend of the channel. Come on now.
Oh, I know. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. No, what is it? Enos?
If that's what... If
I don't know. I'm not... I mean, what... Can you imagine? I hope she didn't marry into that. Do you think she married into that or no?
It's Sue Ennis.
Ennis. But can you imagine the hell she's got her whole life for that name? I can't even imagine. His kids don't, they don't mess around. You know what I mean?
Kids can be cruel.
I mean, hey, all I know is we need to do better. Can you do any better? Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, Tom.
So anyway, the quick answer, Garrett, is that yes, I expect HUT to be one of the winners. They've taken a very different strategy. They have a super strong balance sheet. They do business a little differently than everybody else. So I feel good about them. They're near the top of my list. Obviously, who knows what happens. You can see what if you watch my video, you can see the market is basically assuming every single one of these companies is going out of business. I do not believe anything like that. I think less of these companies are going to go out of business than everybody thinks, but I think some of them will not make it. Okay, everybody can hear you, so that's good. Seriously says hello. Gregor said, I enjoy these streams. Oh, George. I don't know if George has wandered off or he does that sometime. Will miners get delisted when the stock goes under $1? Asks Martin. So there's a long process on the NASDAQ, and all of these guys, some of them are trading simultaneously on other exchanges as well, but they're all the ones on my list are on the NASDAQ, and it's rather a lengthy process before you get delisted. And, you know, they all always have the option of doing a share consolidation or reverse stock split and to get them back over $1. So I don't see anybody on the list of 17 that I'm looking at getting delisted. It can happen. You know, the fear is like what's happening. I'll tell you, everybody may know a great example. DigiHost did a reverse split, and they are all the way back down to $1.10. So, you know, there's only so many reverse splits you can do before. I mean, I guess you can do as many as you want, but your stock starts to become worthless. And your market cap starts to become worthless. A DigiHost's market cap is already only $30 million, which is a lot of money, but it's not as it pertains to market caps, that is tiny. So if they had to do another reverse split and then went back down to $1, they would start to be in trouble. But they just got some good news recently. It's not getting priced in. They ended the day at zero. They were up big all day today, and a bunch of things happened in the last 10, 15 minutes of the day. Somebody earlier was asking me about Bit Digital. Bit Digital was not up 16% all day long. That was a last 10 minutes of the day thing. So I don't know what went on there. Several stocks had it's the end of the day on Friday, so there may have been some people pumping and or dumping various things because there was some weird action in the last 10 or 15 minutes.
I know, who knows how much volume it was too.
And it was decent volume versus the rest of the day, so I feel like somebody just jumped in at the last minute. Now, Mawson, stock ticker MIGI, they were down all day today. So they finished down 17%, and they were down all day. So I'm not sure.
Tom, have you ever done any deep dive in them?
I have not done a video on Mawson because I'm just not sure there's any interest out there in that company. I include them in my analysis, and I do my own personal due diligence. So you guys let me know if you have any interest in Mawson or not. They just put out their monthly release. I mean, they mined 185 Bitcoin. They are a real Bitcoin miner. It's just that nobody seems to care about them, and their stock continues to get punished.
And so what you're saying is there's a good likelihood next month that they're going to beat, or I should say this month, that they're going to beat Marathon.
Yeah, that's right. They're 1 month away from passing Marathon.
Isn't that insane?
JJT says you look like you're in prison, George.
I feel like
Are you in fact in prison right now?
I feel like I'm in prison. I'm in a country house.
Teddy says Fulton County is the worst county in Georgia.
Well, how about this one? I was told that it switches between Fulton County and Orange County as the largest tax digest in America. I don't know. That's what I heard. It's got to be up there in the top 10, I'm sure.
They're the what? What are they now?
The largest. They have the largest tax base.
Really?
Yeah, it's got to be up there in the top 10. I'll put them in the top 10. You know what I mean? Somebody's calling me. I put them in the top 10.
Z-Ra is asking, can you do a video on which miners, essentially, I think, which miners mine for the cheapest? So we're talking gross profit margin. I am going to do that. I've gotten some requests lately. So once a month, I do a top 10 video, which I just did a few days ago, and I rank them based on production. Now, I know that is just one parameter, and I talk about that in the video. I mean, there's 1,000, I could do 1,000 different videos. There are so many different ways to measure these companies. So I am going to do something more comprehensive because I've gotten some very nice requests in addition to some not so nice requests. So I would like to, you guys let me know what you want. I think I've got something in mind, but I'm going to be a little more comprehensive on that. But I still like the top. I'm going to do an extra video. I'm not going to replace that video. It's an important video. If you think that operations don't matter, then, you can have all the exahash you want. You can be the most efficient miner you want. But if you're not mining any Bitcoin, operations is a major factor. Obviously, there are many other major factors. So I'm going to try to add some of those. People want to talk about efficiency, how much debt they have. So I know there's a lot of variables. And I have some spreadsheets that I just don't want to share because there's 50 variables in them. And so it's going to take me 3 hours on a video to explain even what it is. And that is boring, and nobody wants to see that.
Are we telling anybody about the rumor of Marathon being purchased? Of a Bitcoin miner being purchased, or no?
I don't know. Are we?
I don't think we should. I just hear it's a rumor.
Garrett says, thanks, Tom. Even with conviction, there are data when it's impossible not to imagine the worst. Nice to get your view. Yeah, I mean, I know. The negativity right now is at an absolute all-time high. I mean, and it should be, by the way. There may have been other times that are the equal to this, but this is as high as the negativity gets, and it's gloom and doom everywhere. And I am not gloom and dooming. I'm sorry. George and I are gonna disagree. He's a little more on the short term. Well, I'll let him speak for himself. You want me to speak? Colton wants me to do a video on his dog. On my dog? I don't have enough information on your dog, so I wouldn't be able to speak intelligently on that one. Well, let me explain two things. Here, people. So this is where I think I am better at understanding Bitcoin than most people in America. Don't know. Guys, I'm a lunatic. You got to understand that, first of all. The things that I think and understand, it doesn't even make sense. But what sucks is they always come right. And I wish I was wrong, but they are going to drive this damn thing down to a very uncomfortable level. And I pray to God I'm wrong. But, remember, when it was 3.2 trillion, I called 1 trillion, and Tom thought I was an idiot. Remember, Tom? No, I did not think you were an idiot. I thought you were crazy.
You're right. Okay.
It's like the big difference.
Whatever. Those are two different things. But you got to realize, Tom, just answer the next few questions. And I mean, I consider you fairly intelligent.
Okay. I'm overwhelmed.
Okay. So with these give me the top 10 Bitcoin miners. Okay. How many have enough cash to make it through the next 2 months without having to sell any Bitcoin?
Without having to sell any Bitcoin. I mean, we just saw somebody mentioned, I'm going to answer two questions at the same time because somebody earlier asked me and I didn't get to it. What do I think about Bitfarms selling 1,500 Bitcoin? It confuses me greatly. That's one of my largest positions. In general, I like what they're doing, and I see that they shuffled their debt around a little, and I think they had to switch some ratios because they're going to get some more debt and financing on equipment directly, which is a longer-term loan than their $100 million line of credit. So they sold that to pay down their line of credit. So they may have been in a situation where they had to do that. If not, I don't know why they would do that. It makes no sense to me.
Hang on a second. Had to do what? Say it one more time. They had to sell their what?
They had to sell their Bitcoin. They sold 1,500 Bitcoin.
Okay. So with that being said, let me go into my next point. Okay. My next point is that they're going to have to sell Bitcoin at an unreasonable price. They do not understand that they're in the business of mining Bitcoin and they have to pay for their operations monthly with the price of Bitcoin. So if they mine 50 and it costs 30, then they got to sell their 30 and keep the 20. And that's how their model has to be. And I guarantee, remember, I said this, I've been saying this for months, that's how, because it's just like this, it's called widget. It's a widget mentality. And let's say you think your widget in 5 years is going to be worth $2 million a widget. And right now it's worth $20,000 a widget. Pretty interesting that the widget's the same amount of money as a Bitcoin, but 20,000. Businesses on the stock exchange do not follow anything else except EBITDA. EBITDA, how do you say it? EBITDA. And so with that being said, you have to go and play the game by their rules. And so even if we think, everybody here thinks that Bitcoin is going to be worth, 100,000 by the end of this year, hopefully, and, $500,000 in the next 5 years. If you don't stay in business, it doesn't matter what it's worth. So you have to sell. The days of selling stock to raise money is gone. And it's gone for maybe a lot longer than everybody thinks.
Well, definitely raising capital through equity right now is a last resort because these stocks have all been totally destroyed. And if you didn't see my video today, you can watch it because I go in depth onto just how decimated this industry, Bitcoin mining, has been absolutely decimated. So to anybody who's raising stock through equity right now is doing so as a last resort out of desperation.
Yep.
For sure. So, and a lot of companies have already started to spend their Bitcoin. There's a few, I only think there's maybe 2 or 3 companies that won't have to sell Bitcoin through a reasonable, bear market or crypto winter. I mean, obviously there comes a point for all of them where eventually they're going to have to sell their Bitcoin. But selling it now is, for all of these people, this is their nightmare because they all had a chance to sell Bitcoin at 60,000 and 50,000 and 40,000 and 30,000 and Bitfarms borrowed money to buy Bitcoin at I think 30,000 or more, and now they're selling some at 22,000. So they did what they had to do, but it's not a good look.
If everything goes correctly, I think that by the end of the year, and I have a date and I have a month, and I ain't saying it, of when I think Bitcoin will turn the corner. And it will turn the corner in a major way, and I believe it'll be a rocket ship. That's what I honestly believe. But there's also another scenario that could play out. There is another scenario that could play out, and that scenario means that we could be suppressed for a whole nother year and a half.
So the question is definitely...
See, and here's what people don't understand. Hang on, let me explain something. And this is what I love about predictions. Okay, nothing is constant. Let me say that again. When I make a prediction right now of something that's going to happen in 6 months or a year from now, you think that everything is constant. We are naive enough. Sorry, guys. We are naive enough to think that everything's constant. Nothing is constant in this world. And we don't know what governments could crash or fold. We don't know what government could explode and do really well. We don't know what civil wars could break out in what countries. We don't know what wars could break out in what country. We don't know this stuff. And all of that information affects the pricing of Bitcoin.
Well, the future is unknown and there's uncertainty. There's always uncertainty. Right, yeah. Sometimes the more things happen, the more the uncertainty starts to play into what's happening in the market. So it affects the market more. Sometimes the market's very resilient to those types of things. Right now is not one of those times. Yeah, we're very vulnerable to the next thing happening for sure.
Right. And so, but when you think about this, so when you make predictions, like even YouTube dudes make predictions, or even Plan B makes predictions, there's certain metrics that they're using that really can mess up those economic forecasts of the price of all cryptocurrency, let alone Bitcoin.
Well, most of the things can have a short to medium term effect. If you believe in the fundamentals of Bitcoin, then, and this is my position, so I don't know. I think we're due for a little relief rally. However, it would not surprise me if we go in the other direction, because at this point, every line of resistance, every line of support has not held up. But what I'm saying
Right,
is,
I agree with you.
what I'm saying is, in the long term, those things even themselves
Yes.
out, and the good,
Yes.
whether it's a company or in this case we're talking about Bitcoin, I think it's reaching maturity and it's going to get to where it's going. We don't know when. And I mean, to your point, 90% of the Bitcoin world thought we'd be at 100,000, sometime about a year ago now. For the last 6 months of 2021, people were fairly convinced we were going to 100,000. Now people are basically convinced that we're going to 10,000. So, that change in expectation.
I think Plan B really messed up and did move the decimal points over one too many, just so you know.
I think that the fact that there's so much transparency in who's leveraged long and leveraged short, just the mere fact that everybody had such a strong opinion and they were investing accordingly affected the price of Bitcoin. And it's one of the reasons we're sitting where we're sitting today. And they have brought the pain, and you're right, they could bring more pain. But if you've got, particularly with the Bitcoin miners, if you're invested in the right ones and they have set themselves up for this, they will get through a crypto winter. And I really, obviously every indicator is right until it's wrong, but there are so many indicators. I can't find an indicator that doesn't say we're going to, at some point, have a very big run up in Bitcoin. So I don't know when that is, but it's, and the history of Bitcoin is only 13 or 15 years or whatever it is. So, it is a smaller sample group, but if you just look at a lot of, I'm not going to bore you with statistics, but just statistically speaking, this should happen at some point. That doesn't mean it's going to, though. Right? We don't know.
I would say before the halving, we have to have some price movement. What that price movement is at this point in time, I can't tell you with a certainty. But I will tell you that I know I've been talking to everybody about mining and buying. I still today I have not done either one. I've not bought any miners, and I haven't bought any Bitcoin. I mean, I have like, I don't know, 10,000. I don't like $10,000 with Bitcoin, but nothing like, astronomical. You know what I mean?
I mean, I play the miners, so that's definitely, a derivative play. I think it's a leveraged play, but it's safe leverage in my opinion. Now, obviously, these stocks have gotten crushed, so there are still some that I'm dollar cost averaging into. There's some others that I've put on the side, and that's across the board. So Rob S. is saying, thanks for the Romeo update. Much appreciated. You're welcome, Rob. That is one that I'm holding, but I'm also holding my breath, man. I mean, that what happened to it takes a macroeconomic situation like this for a company like Romeo to end up where they are right now. So, the downward pressure on everybody's saying, oh, we're finally in a bear market. Well, the small cap high growth stocks have been in a bear market for about a year and a half. Right? Romeo's down almost 99%. You just don't see that. And even when it was down 95%, there was still enough equity there where they could raise capital, and their equation was one thing. And just recently, and that's why I did the video, I feel there's a shift. The risk is now much higher for Romeo. I'm still holding it, but I definitely am acknowledging a major increase in the risk on stocks like that. Any company, any small cap high growth stock that is not cash flow positive is potentially in trouble, particularly if they're already leveraged. If you're not cash flow positive, which means you need cash just to operate, and you're already leveraged, so you've already used your borrowing capability, as your stock plummets, there becomes a certain point where you really can't use equity to raise cash either, so that leaves no options left. In a world where otherwise, Romeo should have been able to raise $500 million, no problem. Now, that's starting to be tough to imagine.
problem.
Well, it was no problem a year ago, and now obviously and the Bitcoin mining companies are very similar. The ones who have already leveraged themselves up big time. If we're in for a long haul, if this is going to last for months or years, then the people that have leveraged themselves are not going to make it, because they already used, there's three ways of getting cash, and if you've already exhausted one of them and your stock price going down eliminates the other one, the price of Bitcoin going down eliminates the third one, that leaves nothing left.
Which gives me to my next point, by the way, of why Bitcoin is going to stay down right now, and that is regulations. We still don't have any.
I think that's going to be a big catalyst. We just had some proposed legislation come out, and I think they're going to get to legislation. It may not be until the new session, and I'm talking about in the United States. It may not be until the next session, which is in January.
Okay.
I hope that it's before that, but it may not. It may not be.
I 100% agree. But the problem with those regulations, here's the problem. Again, you have to look at the whole cryptocurrency market. You can't just look at Bitcoin. You have to look at the whole cryptocurrency. As great example is Terra Luna, and how it destroyed it. Everybody who watches this knows my feeling on Tether, and that they have some questionable reserves. And when those regulations come out, something's going to happen to Tether. Not saying it's going to fall apart. I'm not saying it's going to take off. I'm just telling you something's going to happen. They're going to have to move. Something has to happen. I mean, it just has to happen. You know what I mean? And you never know who attacks these coins. At any given time here in the next 90 days, we're going to have another attack on a coin, like we've already had.
The key for me is with the Bitcoin miners, I believe in the long term. In the very short term, Bitcoin takes a hit when bad things happen in the cryptocurrency land.
Yep.
But if you look, the Bitcoin dominance is on the move, and it's on the way up. And I think that has not yet even begun. I think there's going to be a mass rotation into Bitcoin. And, when and will largely depend later when the regulations come, we'll see how each coin or token is treated. And that's going to decide which ones, to some extent, that's going to be picking winners and losers.
But think about this as we speak. As you and I are talking right now, we are going through real life scenarios that are going to happen in the crypto market. And I mean, correct me if you feel I'm wrong. Please tell me. I have no problem analyzing this and being wrong. My problem is to help people catch the falling knife at the end as possibly as close as the bottom as we possibly can get. That's my goal. And that's why I'm still out.
I know. And so there's different philosophies of investing, and you are taking the position that your conviction is very high that we are not at the bottom, and so you're not buying. My conviction is that we're bouncing along the bottom, and I don't know where the bottom is. Right. So I'm very patiently, I will tell you, I've slowed down my dollar cost averaging, but I am buying in at every opportunity, and I will, if we go down more, then I'll just keep buying some more. And again, I did slow down the pace at which I'm doing that, so that I've got enough.
This could take 2 years, and that was so. But it could take 2 years. It just sucks. 2 years. Remember, I'm not going to tell anybody what my next statement's going to be in those 2 years. By the way, It's huge, though.
It's
huge.
Well, I think it will be less than 2 years. I think that there's a lot of things have pushed Bitcoin to an unnatural place right here. And I will say, if it does break this pink line that is on my screen, or whatever color this is, just under $20,000 was the peak of the previous Bitcoin cycle. We have never had a new cycle that went below the previous cycle. So if we do break through that, it starts to be not a lot of lines of support underneath that. So in the short term, but the few times that has happened, and it's only the few times we've gotten outside of
chocolate covered almonds. That's my weakness.
Me too.
Me too.
The few times that Bitcoin has hit historical lows, that they tend to be right before the biggest run-up. So I've done some videos on this. The last 2 or 3 times we've gotten to this level on the RSI or at this level of standard deviations outside of the Bollinger Bands, all these things that are happening at the same time are rare occurrences, and it's just unlikely. When you're already 2 or 3 standard deviations below the norm, it's just statistically unlikely that you're going to go 4. 4 is very unusual. 5 is almost impossible, and 6 you really don't find in nature. You know, now that's like winning the lottery type numbers. So there's a point where I just don't see it going down to.
So you say you don't think it's going below 20 because of never crossed?
No, I'm not saying I don't think it's going to go below 20, but I do not believe it's going to get to 10 or 5, because at that point, you know, unless it takes a very slow and steady ride down. But it's too much of a move, and we're already.
And I would agree with that statement. I would agree with it's not. I'm saying we're seeing teams right now, and unless some other things happen, you know, in this global economy, unless some other things happen, we're seeing teams.
If we break 20, then my next line, which I haven't even put on here, I'm not putting another line on here because I feel like it's bad luck. So if we break 20, you know, 15,600 is the next line that seems to have some little bit of support, but who knows? I mean, we're in uncharted territory if we break 20,000, because we've never, like I said, we've never gone below the previous cycle before. So, and our sample group is super small, so it's hard to.
And by the way, all the things you're saying is more support for me, I feel, of the reasons of why it's going down, because it's never happened before.
But
okay, does that make sense?
But what is your long-term picture for Bitcoin? What's your 3-year picture? What's your 5-year picture?
3-year? 3-year, Bitcoin's still the biggest market cap, and they're we're way over 60. We're way over 60.
So
it has to be, because it won't work if it isn't. By the way, just so you guys all know, if it's not over 60 in 3 years, the project's a failed project. It won't work.
If it's not at 60, the worldwide hash rate will be down drastically, because we will have had another halving.
Right. So that's my 3-year is, it has to be, or it's failed. The project's failed. So I would almost say, with a question of doubt, I would say it has to be at $100,000 in 3 years. Has to be at $100,000, and then with 5 years, I think it's going to move to about 350. But here's the problem, and this is why I don't like doing forecasts anymore like this, Tom.
Yeah,
it's just too many variables. There's too many variables.
There's a lot. There's nothing's guaranteed. So obviously, anytime we make a projection, there's 1,000 things that could,
There's too many. It's just, this world is so. We are in such a flux in this world right now that I just, my head spins when I think about it. I went to Longhorns for lunch today. You're gonna love this one. I went to Longhorns for lunch today. I said, "Oh, can I get the lunch money?" He goes, "Yeah, we threw it out last night." He goes, "Why?" Because we couldn't make any money on the lunch menus, on the items on the lunch menu. This is a national chain that has the lowest price on everything you can possibly imagine. Okay, guys, this isn't like, I'm not talking about conspiracy theory or anything like that. I'm telling you hardcore facts of what was said to me, and I guarantee it's being done at all the Longhorns, because they're not in a bubble just to serve us food. They need to make money. I mean, that's the name of the game, and unfortunately, they're not making money. And I think that could be said on most of these restaurants. They're like, but their prices are through the roof. Okay, you know why the prices are through the roof. Everybody here knows. And that's the problem. The problem is we have a broken financial system at the current moment.
I want to catch up a little bit. I have been falling you're usually the one good at keeping up with the comments, and you're not getting a feed today. So I just want to catch up a little bit. I'm going to start with Eric because he just said a bunch of things. The first one is he said, come on, let's be positive. So that's number one. All the Bitcoin.
Hang on a second. Time out. You guys, I am 100% positive. I'm not upset about what's going on. This is actually healthy to happen. This needed to happen because if you got to have diamond hands, you got to hold it. Go on.
Well, there's a lot of truth to that. You know, some of these corrections are necessary, and you know, stuff did spiral to a point. Let me just read a little bit more of what Eric said because he said a bunch of things. All the Bitcoin guys are saying all the technicals are about to turn.
Okay.
Eric saying the problem is you're looking at 20K now thinking it's expensive, but when it was 68,000, you would have bought 20K all day long. So yeah, it's all a matter of perspective. There's no doubt. That's what happens in a spiraling downward situation. The price that you once would have considered like you never dreamed you'd be able to buy at again, all of a sudden you're going.
And let me tell you, that 69,000 was an arbitrary number. You should not even consider it real. By the way, that was just some pressure put on it. Well, it should have never even have been there.
That's
by the way,
that is
in
your
my
opinion.
But you're right. But what we're saying is, if you don't sell, you didn't lose any money. That's the bottom line. If you have Bitcoin and you bought it at 70, if you don't sell it, you didn't lose any money. Who cares? You got Bitcoin. You got one of probably the best invention ever made in the world. I mean, it's crazy to say. It's still, if you really understand Bitcoin and start reading, you know, books about it and understand how it works and understand how the halving works, understand how the you know, how we mine it. I mean, it will solve a huge problem that we have in the United States right now. And that's one of the reasons why I think it's going lower, is because they don't want a cryptocurrency that can solve our problems. Sorry, go on.
I think the genie's out of the bottle. I mean, they can suppress it and they can push it down and they can, you know, make some retail. I mean, Bitcoin adoption is. I feel comfortable in saying that we've reached critical mass in Bitcoin adoption at this point. That doesn't mean that the price is going to turn around tomorrow, but there's really no turning back, in my opinion.
I don't agree with that statement. I would say it this way. I think we're approaching cryptocurrency adoption. I would say that we are not there yet.
I'm not even going cryptocurrency. Yeah. Not to sound like a Bitcoin purist, but all the other ones might disappear. But when the chairman of the Federal Reserve or the SEC says Bitcoin's a commodity and it's here to stay, I mean, you've got every...
Wait a second. Did he say that?
Yeah.
When?
I did a video on it maybe a week and a half ago.
Well, then they should dismiss the XRP lawsuit.
But XRP is not Bitcoin. He was making a specific point regarding Bitcoin. And in fact, he went on to say that he thought most of the coins and tokens, in his opinion, are securities. Now, the legislation that's going through is a little bit of the opposite of that. It's trying to move them out of that category. So that's still up for dispute. So what I'm saying is, when you get past, the fact is, and this does not make me a Bitcoin purist, or maybe it does, if that's what you want to call me. Bitcoin, there's a reason there's two categories, Bitcoin and altcoins. And there's a reason even Ethereum is an altcoin. And that is because all of the rest of them do not have the same level of adoption. And they also have some very fundamental differences in the way that they work than Bitcoin does. So I just read a very interesting article on proof of work versus proof of stake. If Ethereum, there's a good line of reasoning where if Ethereum goes to proof of stake, that is going to cause Bitcoin to skyrocket.
Right.
So,
which, by the way, I don't believe it will. Just so you guys know.
You don't think that Bitcoin or that Ethereum is going to go to proof of stake? Well,
Right.
I remain skeptical. I don't know when or if that's going to happen.
Well, remember they said it was coming out sometime in June, right? They're like, oh, maybe July, and now it's like, well, August. We're thinking August, you know.
And these are just the recent delays. We're several years into this being a thing that was supposed to happen. So, and it might happen.
I can't say the initials, but you guys all know them. They're my name's George, and it has the first letter, and I can't say it because we'll get demonetized. I guess. But unfortunately, I'm saying I don't care. ESG, you know, and that's, you know, a huge factor. And I forgot where I was going with that regarding.
Yeah, well, ESG is causing a lot of this downward pressure. You got Kevin O'Leary out there who simultaneously is saying all the Bitcoin miners need to suffer more pain, while he's already announced that he is opening a Bitcoin mining company. So, I mean, that's the epitome of hypocrisy, but it's just the fear. It's just the fear spreading, fear mongering that's going on, and it's been fairly effective. There's also been some other real things that have happened. I mean, the Luna situation's real, and the Celsius situation, we don't even know what the end of that is. Yeah. And apparently everybody's fairly worried about Voyager because they are tanking like nothing I've ever seen. I mean, Voyager at one point today was at 93 cents. Right? There were people buying it like it was the last call at $15. It's at 93 cents now. So, you know, there's real stuff going on. But again, all those things, to me, in the long term, the more of those things that happen, the more it flushes out the weak links, and the system overall will improve, and it pushes Bitcoin more towards the forefront, in my opinion. I want to answer Teddy because he asked a really good question. He said, Tom.
Well, hang on. And I don't know if Ethereum will be here in 5 or 10 years, guys. Just so you know.
Yeah, I mean,
by the way, keep going.
The thing with Ethereum moving to proof of stake is now all of a sudden it's just like Cardano and Solano and all, and you know, it's all those guys. Why would you move to a model instead of differentiating yourself? Now you're just a commodity in the sense that you're just like all the other ones. So there's massive adoption right now on the Ethereum chain, but
I know the answer to it, but I will not tell you it. I will tell you in person, but I'm not telling you why that I believe that is going to really. Never mind. It just doesn't matter. But there's a good reason, and it's like, wow, these bastards. Sorry.
Well, I got it. When in doubt, zoom out, and that's what I'm doing. So I know there's a lot of short-term pain. I will tell you the number one place. Well, there's two places. I try to, and I don't get as much time as I used to, but I try to follow some YouTubers and some of the big ones so that I understand what other people are talking about. And the gloom and doom right now is at an all-time high amongst YouTubers. And what was my other?
Dude, hang on a second. Tom, if people think I'm gloom and doom on Bitcoin, you are 100% wrong. I'm going to tell you right now, I plan on making a sizable purchase, and I plan on that being worth $20 million at some point in time.
So
I'm telling you, I'm not giving up on this project. This thing is awesome.
I know just from talking to you more than we do on the live stream that you are long term. You are very bullish on Bitcoin. You're very worried about the current state of the economy and the world, and so is everybody else. I mean, it's not just Bitcoin that's having a problem. There's an awful lot of stuff going on right now.
Look at gold. Look at silver. I mean, you just see these things, you know. And then you know what gets me though is we've had, and I'm going to one of the things that I saw a headline. We have the greenest administration that we've ever had in the United States. Okay, and look at the cost of oil.
Well, obviously, oil is hurting the economy big time right now. There's got to be a balance, which clearly we have not yet struck, because oil cannot be.
It's not hurting. It's not hurting anymore, Tom. This isn't hurting. This is destroying. Use the words hurt. It's no longer hurt. This is destroying.
And
I'm sorry. This is a freaking fact. And until people until we come up with something, we are dependent on oil. Sucks. I totally agree it sucks. But we still are. Well, and guess what? Until we fix that problem, this economy is in for some rocky roads.
Oil is hurting the economy right now. The only thing I will say to that is, again, to zoom out, because this is not the first time we've had oil be a big problem. There are solutions. We may not be taking the right approach to them right now. You might be disagreeing with the approach we're taking. I would be doing something different right now.
Yeah, me too.
But having said that, also I would, that's a tough job. So I'm not applying for it.
Right. And just so you know, as we're talking, if people believe that green energy is really good, which, I think anything to help our planet is great. You need to understand that. But I think you need to understand at what cost. You need to go and research and understand what is going on. And that is what is bad. It's not the easy stuff that you and I are sitting here talking about. That's the easy stuff. It's the hard stuff that we don't understand with oil. And that's what bothers me. Oil's not, I hate to tell everybody, but in 2035, oil ain't going away. And if it does, guess what? You ain't going to power your electric vehicle.
Well, here's the thing, and this is just a part of, the public narrative versus the reality. I mean, the plan isn't even for oil to be gone in 2050. So right. Oil, it's a
or
part
gas,
of it's
or gas.
Right. So yeah, and especially
or diesel.
So they're not going away. Alternative forms of energy will get better and better, and we've got some good stuff on the horizon that I'm looking forward to. I'm at the moment out of my hydrogen stocks because I think it's not the right moment, but there's some good stuff coming. It's just everything takes a while, so we'll get
I
get
totally
there.
Agree.
And in the
I
meantime,
totally agree with you, Tom.
At some point, the pain will be enough that we will make adjustments to fix the oil situation. That is what has happened in the past. So I'm counting on. Here's my overall investment philosophy. I'm not going to invest as if the world is going to end, because if the world is going to end, then it doesn't matter anyway.
Right.
I'm going to invest like, life's going to go on, and there's good times and there's bad times, and we are definitely in. While we have not yet technically reached the definition of a recession, we're clearly well into a bear market. I believe we're in a recession, and that's going to get confirmed shortly. So, this is a tough time. And we got inflation. We haven't, most grown-ups don't even know, they've never had inflation in their grown-up life. So, it's been a long time.
And this is the worst type of inflation. This is supply side inflation. This isn't normal inflation where everybody in the economy is buying too much. This is where your commodities are just going out of control, and we have to go up with inflation. By the way, that has also wrecked every economy that's ever been in existence.
East Coast server is saying George is upset with the lack of chocolate-covered almonds today. I feel his pain. He said something else to you earlier, too. I'm sorry, guys. I am not great at keeping up with the comments, and George usually helps.
I get Tom excited. Oh, you want my philosophy? Buy low, sell high.
That's sound advice. Very sound advice.
Telling you.
I want to answer Teddy, because he asked, Tom, why wouldn't it make sense just to short rather than dollar cost average? Why buy in a bear market? I'm just trying to understand. And that is a very, very common question. And I'm not saying I have the right answer or the wrong answer. There's different philosophies on that. My answer to that is, I don't know. If you know the exact day that the bottom is in, then, tell everybody on the chat and let me know, because then if you know that, then you know the perfect day to buy into the market. What I do know is the Bitcoin's down 70%. The miners are down 80 and 90%. So I'm going to start buying right now, because if I look at where the price is going to be 5 years from now, if I try to wait and time the bottom, I may be shorting it when this thing goes off. And Bitcoin is volatile. So when it goes, it's going to go. And if you're shorting that instead of in a long position because you thought you were going to time it just right, then you will have missed the boat. So for me, that's the philosophy of dollar cost averaging. I didn't make it up. It's not my philosophy, but it's the one that I subscribe to, and I try to use that particularly when we're at this level of old oversold. So I'm buying Bitcoin miners that are down, that their stock and market cap are down, let's say 90%. So might they go down 95%? I guess, but I feel that at down 90%, this is a discounted price. And ultimately, if I'm a long-term investor, I'm going to be very happy that I bought Bitfarms at $1 and that I bought HUT at $1 and that I bought Riot at $4. So it's all about timing. So that, that doesn't mean I'm right and someone else is wrong. It's just that's the philosophy that I use to invest.
And I can tell you that I am getting ready to double all my current investments into Bitcoin mining to reduce, so I can bring my, break-even price way down.
Yeah, so you're getting ready to dollar cost average. You're just waiting longer duration.
In the next couple of weeks. That's happening.
Right.
It's like you said, and just I think it might go down even further. But by the way, who here? Give me a coin that will be number 2 in market cap. That's a cryptocurrency. See if anybody else thinks like I think. In 5 years from now.
All right, let me
number
catch
2.
Up. You guys can leave a comment.
No stable coins.
Yeah, stable coins do not count.
No. Yeah. Sorry. That's going to be an interesting answer. I want to see this one.
So seriously, and says, guys, keep in mind also there is so much more people that own a crypto wallet and hold Bitcoin. The last 2 years have seen a crazy increase in potential buyers. And that is true. And I just saw a survey that 91% of crypto owners plan on buying more crypto. So.
Oh, I agree, dude. I just so you guys know, I'm doing a project for crypto as we speak. I have my own coin coming out. So I might do 2. But everybody's picking on me about my other one.
Eric is asking, George, given the opportunity 7 months ago, would you have bought Riot at $6? So, that's my dollar cost average argument, essentially. It's
Well, I bought Riot at $22 because I think that was in April, maybe, because I thought that would be the bottom. So the answer is yes, I'll definitely buy it at 6.
Right. So
because because I want to take that 22, buy it at 6. What it will be. 11.
Right.
Like 11 something to average me in.
So Riot's at $4.65. So that's my point. Is I bought some this week because you know what? Maybe it's going to go to $3. I don't know, but I do think that it's going to get healthy. And
the only one I'm nervous about is Core. That's the only one I feel that I made a mistake on.
Core Scientific.
Yep.
Well, they're at a larger risk. There's no doubt. They have the most debt out of everybody by far, but they are a monster. So, we'll definitely see. They're on my at-risk list based on the fact that they have so much debt.
I shouldn't tell you this, but guys, I'm down. Should I tell them? I will say I'm down hundreds of thousands of dollars, just so you guys all know.
But you're down, but it's not gone.
Right. But did I sell? If I don't sell, I didn't lose. It's that simple.
That's right.
Unless I want a tax break.
Eric says, we love you guys. Thank you. And then someone
Anybody
was saying
any coin? Any number 2 coins or no?
Hold on. I just caught up. I got ETH, and George coin.
Nice. I like that, George coin. Kudab is going to be Kudab, by the way. Kudab's going to be my coin. Kudab. Can you do any better?
But I think everybody feels ETH is a solid second place. And right now, it is absolutely, there's Bitcoin, there's Ethereum, and third place is distant.
Does anybody want to know my pick? See if they do. If they don't, I won't tell them.
Okay, so just put a Y in the comments if you want to hear George's pick for what he thinks is going to be the number 2 coin.
Tom, you know what's so sad is usually I'm asking you all the questions. It seems like we've switched roles today.
That's because you're live on location. So
Yeah. I wish I could send you a video of the hell I'm dealing with up here.
So David is saying you just gave a grim report for the miners in your last video. Are you saying you are more optimistic than pessimistic? So I will tell you, if you watch that video, what I talk about is that the Bitcoin miners are down a shocking amount right now, right? And a lot of these companies are down over 90% in market cap and in share price. So, and I do think there will be winners and losers. But if you watch all of my videos, I think it'll be crystal clear which ones I think are winners and which ones, I'm more concerned about. I can't say definitively that anybody's going to lose, right? Because there's executives at the heads of these companies, and they can make decisions and do things that maybe we didn't think they could do. So, every company has its own chance, but some are much more likely than others to not make it through what's happening right now. But there are several that I think breeze through what's happening right now. So yeah, I'm still buying. I'm optimistic. I bought some options this week, which I haven't done in a long time. They're leap options, but still. So I am more optimistic, but I will say you got to be careful and do your due diligence, and you got to make sure you've got conviction in your miner, because a lot of these miners and their business models are so different. There's 20 publicly traded company Bitcoin miners, and there's significantly different business models inside of that. So some of them are much more set up from a cash management, cash flow standpoint, strength of balance sheet standpoint to withstand a downturn. Whereas some of the other ones have taken a higher risk. So, if we have a quick bounce, to George's point, he's worried about Core Scientific. Well, if all of a sudden Bitcoin takes off, they're going to be the great big winners. But if Bitcoin goes into a crypto winter, they didn't really strategize for that, in my opinion. So they're at a greater risk.
Right. I mean, I'm praying they don't, because I don't want to lose that kind of money,
And I'm not predicting any of these are going to go out of business. As I make these videos, all I'm saying is, here's the companies that I think are at greater risk, and here's why. Right? But I don't know. Bitcoin could hit 70,000 this weekend. You cannot rule anything out with Bitcoin. It's incredibly volatile.
I totally agree with that statement. You can't, there's, anything's possible right now. Did you hear we landed on the moon, guys?
Just now?
No.
That was a while back.
Supposedly back. Yeah, supposedly in the 60s. So did anybody want to know it? Or
I got some yeses. Yes. So
everybody's going to pick on me when I say it. I have a feeling.
Well, let's find out.
XRP.
Let's hear it.
XRP.
I knew what you were going to say.
Yeah, XRP. I believe if you want to understand what are they? The ISO 222s are the coins that are going to be. They're going to be solid. They're going to be, part of the top 10.
Seth's on here. He knew you were going to say that.
Yeah.
Hey, Seth, how are you?
XRP is going to move more money around than anything else. See, I guess if you guys moved money around and you had to pay like bigger, transfers, it's insane how much money moves around. I think it's 25 trillion a day or something like that is moved around the world.
More money moved around than there is.
Yeah, it's insane.
Because of derivative products.
Yeah. And so to think that is all being replaced by XRP or on a ledger of XRP, Ripple, is just amazing. That's why I was telling Tom I wanted to do the IPO with Ripple.
So we got some people sharing your pain. We've got some other people down six figures here that have made some notes in the comments. Did you talk about CleanSpark? I don't think we've talked about CleanSpark yet. Took a while for people to adopt computers and cell phones. Only a matter of time for crypto to go mainstream.
Agree,
Just hope it isn't a
100%.
centralized digital currency. So yeah, you know that, and I
Yeah,
don't think it's. I think
agree.
Bitcoin is decentralized to the point where I think it's past the point of no return, and I just don't think. Yeah, there might also be some. Really, a centralized cryptocurrency is just the same thing as fiat money. That there's no difference. So I feel very confident. Bitfarms will survive, says Charles. David is asking, are you confident about Riot and Hive? So both of those are near the top of my list for ones that I think will survive in the event of an extended crypto winter. Hut is
Not
near the top of my
financial
list. Yeah.
Do your own research.
It's none of this is financial advice. I'm giving you my opinion, and I certainly could be wrong. We don't know just how bad things can get and just how good things can get. But in my opinion, Hut, Riot, Hive, Bitfarms, to a lesser extent, CleanSpark. I love CleanSpark. I wish they had a little bit stronger balance sheet, but most of what they have done from a management standpoint, I think is great. So, you know, I think a lot more of these companies are going to survive than everybody thinks. I do see some weak links that, you know, if it gets worse, there may be some companies where even if it doesn't get worse, they're not going to make it. So we'll have to wait and see, because there, you know, like I said, there's very different business models, and some of these business models don't seem sustainable to me. And we did have a lot of new entries into this space over the last 12 months, right? Where there was only, you know, there was on the NASDAQ, I think you had Riot and Marathon a year ago. Now you've got, you know, over the counter, you had Bitfarms and Hive and Hut and DigiHost, but, you know, now you've got, and Bit Digital, I won't forget. Although to me, I'll just, spoiler alert, I think they are having a serious problem, and I question Bit Digital. Stock ticker BTBT is on my list of endangered species. So again, not financial advice, it's just my opinion, but when you dig into what's happening there, something's gone seriously wrong. They continue to reduce. They're giving monthly updates, which I appreciate, and they weren't doing that, so I asked them to please start doing that, and they're doing that, but unfortunately, the information in them is so awful that to me, it's disturbing. Trying to catch up. I think George disappeared. That happens. Let me just catch up quickly on some of these comments. I'm very bad about this, and I did not even notice last week. Somebody gave me a super chat, and I didn't say thanks, so I don't know who that was. I missed it completely, so thank you to whoever that was. George is going for chocolate. Yeah, I think he bolted and went for his chocolate. Let me see. Eric's saying, imagine if it's 40K this weekend. I mean, that, as silly as that sounds, we were at 30K, you know, a week ago. So it's everybody, you know, this has all of a sudden instantly become the new normal that Bitcoin's at $20,000. Well, we were at 30,000 a week ago. We were at almost 50,000 on March 28th. That was only a couple of months ago that we were, you know, pushing $50,000. So Bitcoin moves violently, and every single move is not always going to be to the downside. So, you know, I'm with Eric. Let's be positive, and that doesn't mean let's, you know, be irresponsible. I think you still got to be super careful investing, but I just don't see the gloom and doom ahead, in my opinion. I think so somebody asked, what's your take on Bitfarms reducing their credit facility with Galaxy Digital? So they paid down some of their line of credit, and I think there's a bigger picture there that we don't know about, because they did get some new financing that was on equipment, and they also mentioned they're planning on getting they've got financing lined up for some more of their equipment. So I am suspecting that they have got to reduce and or get rid of this $100 million line of credit, and they're shifting that towards longer term, better structured credit. Although they did say they're working towards renewing the $100 million line of credit. That doesn't mean they have to draw it all the way down. And some of their new loans may have, loan to value ratios that dictate that they don't draw down the full $100 million on that loan. So I'm speculating at that. I don't know. But to me, that would be the only reason out of the blue to just pay that down right now. I can't find another reason that makes any sense. Even if you wanted to sell your Bitcoin, why not hold the money? There must be another reason they paid that line down. And I got to believe it has to do with the other debt that they're accumulating. Colton says, I'm only invested in HUT 8. Let's see. JJT saying, I did some calculation on course volume against Bitcoin against 20K to 75K. If Bitcoin gets healthy, their debt is peanuts and they generate so much cash, they're in a position to do takeovers. So, and I agree. I think the same thing. At Bitcoin 75,000, Core Scientific, it's going to look like every move they made was genius. At Bitcoin 20,000, and they're not going to look like geniuses. So they have a big, at Bitcoin 20,000, their interest is a big number. But you're right, at Bitcoin 75,000, at Bitcoin 50,000, they have no problem. So Isaac, I hope I just answered that. You were asking me about Bitfarms. We have proactively, okay, Charles P. Bitfarm says, we have proactively taken non-dilutive strategic actions to increase financial liquidity. So this is why I'm saying that there was a reason they paid the debt off, because that was in their press release, but that was not a step to, it was all non-dilutive. So that's absolutely true. But that did not increase their financial liquidity. It decreased their financial liquidity. When you pay off debt and lose cash, you are less liquid by definition. So, there was a little bit of, there's something they're not telling us. There was a reason that they did that. And it wasn't to save the few dollars in interest at a time when, everybody is scrambling to hold money and selling their Bitcoin that they didn't sell it at 69,000. They're selling it at 20,000. So and again, I'm not bashing Bitfarms. That's one of my biggest holdings. And I averaged into it this week. So, for me, I like those guys a lot, but I just think there's some more going on behind the scenes. I don't think it's a problem. Every update Bitfarm gives talks about looking for acquisitions, said Ricky. So, that's the other part of this. There's a lot of companies talking about potential mergers and acquisitions, and really, it's really going to be acquisitions. And that's if the pain continues to last. And a few of these companies whose cash is king, and there are a few companies that are just straight up running out of cash, and they have no room left to borrow money. So, for as good, as many machines as they have and whatnot, if Bitcoin is at a price where all they can do is break even on the coin itself and there's no money to pay their overhead, then they're done. So I do think that could happen to some companies, and that will free up a lot of machines. That is what HUT 8 is counting on. They so much as said so that, they believe. And the CleanSpark machines, they didn't disclose the price, or at least I didn't see the disclosed price, but they indicated that, they got way below market value. They were able to make this recent purchase. I think it was yesterday. Biz101 says, I really think CleanSpark has the best chance of upside due to the low market cap, low share count, and major potential for a big squeeze. Only 40 million shares. Right? Their share count is way less than all of their peers. There's no doubt about it. So as long as they can remain properly capitalized, because they certainly do not want to be raising equity at, they're what's CleanSpark at? $4.65. So, CleanSpark and Marathon are the exact same number. Or sorry, Riot, CleanSpark and Riot. So at $4.65, when you only have 40 million shares, you do not want to be raising capital. But if they've got enough and they can make it through, and I think that they do, then yeah, they're going to be. If Bitcoin skyrockets at some point, then yes, that's the reason I'm invested in CleanSpark as well. So I like those guys. So Riot just, Awakened Soul said, Riot just sent out an email on voting for dilution. So they're at a size and scale. And again, this is an awful time for stock dilution. But if they need, I think they have a couple of $100 million left that they have to pay to buy the rest of their machines, which sounds like a lot of money. And at $4.65, it is a lot of money. But those machines are mostly paid for. It's just, so, they've got $1 billion in assets, and they've got a couple $100 million left to pay it down. And if they have to do it through dilution, then, I would be for that if it gets them the machines and it keeps them going, even though, obviously, the last thing you want to do right now is dilute your stock. So I see Cypher was already mentioned in the chat, and I had a question about it. I will take advantage to ask. It had a burst of plus 27% today. So I saw that, and I have absolutely no idea why Cypher went off 27% up on the day. So I'm going to look at the chart because that was the big mover on the day. So the volume was triple, 901 share. Well, not triple, a little over double. There's usually a little under 400,000 shares. There was 900,000 traded today. So, and at $1.82, this is tiny amounts of volume. So this is one of the lowest volume traded stocks. This is just not even in the same league as the ones we normally talk about from a volume standpoint. But let's see. Again, if you look at, and I'm just looking at the Yahoo chart, you'll see at 348, they were at $1.55. So this is another one. In the last 12 minutes of the day, all of a sudden this company went ballistic. And you can also see that's where most of the volume was on the day. So I don't know. Somebody was making Friday end of the day moves because several of these things moved and it wasn't limited to the Bitcoin miners. A lot of people were doing something, getting ready for the weekend. There's typically the giant sell-off on Friday. Today was a little bit of the reverse. Today was an up day and there was a surge into the close on certain stocks. Seriously is asking me if I have been invited to the CleanSpark facility, like they said during the interview, and the answer to that is yes. And I'm hoping to do that soon because actually George is in Georgia right now, and I'm hoping to come up and coordinate and have me and him go through their facilities. I think that would be very interesting. We can bring our camera and see what's going on. So I'm hoping that's in the next couple weeks. Yes, Bill Gates said Bitcoin and Cardano are gambling and have no value. Bill Gates and a lot of the, I'm going to call them old school billionaires, they do not like Bitcoin. They're never going to like Bitcoin. That's the can't teach an old dog new tricks, in my opinion. Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, those are two of the biggest Bitcoin haters ever. And so I just fundamentally disagree with them. David saying basically good miners are the highest potential return in the entire market right now. So, I agree with that. These are amongst, there's some small cap high growth stocks that have been beaten down. Anything down over 90%, if they survive, and a lot of these aren't even in jeopardy of going out of business, in my opinion. If they survive, the upside is astronomical. So that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for companies down. It's a strange market to be in where you're looking for companies down 90% or 95%. Now, you got to be careful because on Romeo, I may have gotten burned. So we got some people who don't care for Bill Gates in the comments section. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to go based off of what a handful of billionaires may be doing. And it's hard to go off of even analysts all have an agenda. So everybody who's talking has an agenda. Kevin O'Leary is crushing the Bitcoin miners, and he is a Bitcoin miner. So everybody's got their own agenda on what they say. And, you know, Bill Gates doesn't need to make any more money. So, you know, I don't know. And for all I know, he's got a gigantic Bitcoin wallet. So who knows? So Allie's asking, what's the value of Bitcoin in your opinion? So I don't know how to answer that because it's a short-term versus long-term question. I think that Bitcoin is set up in a way that is different from it has differentiated themselves. Although it was the first one, nobody really copied their model exactly. And I think that that was a mistake. I think that their model is the one that works the best. So, and now on top of that, their network is so strong that, you know, it's at a point where, to me, it's invincible. There is no, you know, they worry about some of these, well, there'll be a 51% takeover, and that's just not going to happen on the Bitcoin network. It's too gigantic at this point. It's not feasible. So I think all things are pointing towards Bitcoin being a long-term store of value, Bitcoin being a hedge against inflation. I know everybody right now is sitting there going, well, it's neither of those things right now. And that is true. At the moment, it is not behaving in those ways. But I think that that is a short-term situation. I think that is the long-term picture for Bitcoin, in my opinion. And so that's how I'm investing. Yeah, Bit Digital. So Bit Digital also had a burst at the end of the day. I mean, intrinsic value is very hard to determine. It's people talk about the intrinsic value of things, and you know, you could have that debate about everything. What's gold's intrinsic value? You know what I mean? It's the Bitcoin's value is it's as a store of value. I believe it's going to prove to have value as a hedge against inflation. I believe it's going to have value. Functionally speaking, with the Lightning Network, I think there's going to be value. I think that the Bitcoin network is going to be utilized. And, you know, there's a giant demand for this decentralized cryptocurrency from not from governments and establishments, but from people. You know, we got 8 billion people or however many. And you know, it's to the benefit of people. And even there's small countries adopting this because it's to their benefit. They don't want to mess around with their fiat currency. They'll just use Bitcoin. So I just think there's so many things going in that direction that I'm very bullish long term. Again, short term, I've given up guessing on short term because, you know, there's just no telling. The billionaires hate Musk. Musk is on another level. Well, and says Eric, and that is true. You know, it's funny. Elon Musk is relatively new member to the billionaire club. It's been a while now, but you know, he passed all those. He's double everybody. So, like, there's rich, and then there's rich, there's billionaires, and then there's Elon Musk. So I do think there's a lot of jealousy against Elon Musk. I don't love everything he says. I think he was one of the catalysts to get Bitcoin rolling. I also think he was one of the catalysts to start Bitcoin in its downward spiral. So, you know, I don't know what to say other than I will say he does his own thing, right? He's definitely doing his own thing, and so I respect that. Isaac is saying, can I just say that I generally appreciate and enjoy all your videos? Thank you so much for your effort you put in. Thank you very much, Isaac. I appreciate that. Yeah, it helped. Listen, I appreciate that, and thank you. And I appreciate all the comments that you guys leave in the comments section. It does, as silly as it may seem, it does help me keep going because, you know, there's always those, what used to be 1%, you know, in this down market, one of the funny things is one of my gauges for how nervous and panicked people are is the more negative, hateful comments I get, the more I know that people out there are suffering. So, you know, that's what leads, you know, why leave a hateful comment on, you know, there's 100 billion videos on YouTube. If you don't like this one, don't watch it. But it's because they're losing money and they're frustrated and they're angry and they're, you know, I get it. We're all going through the same thing. So I guess my point was thank you for all your positive comments because they offset that and they help a lot. So I appreciate it. George got slim. Yeah, George got so slim he's not here anymore. Eric says thank you. You're welcome. I got to wrap it up in about a minute or two, but I just want to finish catching up on the chat. Musk doesn't have social awareness. His autism has a lot to do with it. He is reckless, and most people who work for him strongly dislike him. Per my neighbor in Merritt Island who works at SpaceX, says Awakened Soul. So I don't know. I mean, obviously I have no personal dealings with Elon Musk, and I never will. So I don't know the answer to that. I'm just saying he definitely does not seem to follow the crowd. Just because all the rest of the billionaires are doing one thing doesn't mean he follows along and does the same thing. He does his own thing. Mark saying, you're an optimist and not a pumper, as most YouTubers are. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And I tend to have a positive outlook in the long term. Yeah, I know there's pain and yes, Bitcoin could go down even more. But, I mean, I feel like it's a strong thesis that there's I'm getting old. So I've seen a lot of these times where everybody feels like it's the end of the world, and every single time we're at this level of panic, I mean, it has so far been without fail that these are the moments where you want to be buying stock. So, you know, maybe one day that won't be true, but so far every single, and there've been an awful lot of end of the world type scenarios over the last 50 something years. And somehow they all worked out, and the market, you know, keeps hitting new all-time highs. Bitcoin has spiraled upward. Yeah, it's in a little bit of a bear market. Not a little bit. It's in a big bear market at the moment. But, you know, it was just a year ago. It was at almost $70,000. So I think it'll go back. Martin is saying thank you. So a couple of people are asking me about things, Cardano and another company that I don't know a lot about. So I don't like to give answers when I don't know, when I'm not, you know, if I haven't done my due diligence and I don't want to know what I'm talking about. So sorry, I don't know those. I can look into them though. Interesting miners are green in pre-market. Strange. What do they know? Oh, are the miners green after? You know, I don't know. And that was this end of the day pump for a few of these as well. The last 10, 15 minutes of the day, all of a sudden a couple of these things skyrocketed. So, you know, I don't know. Are we at a bottom? I'm never saying we're at a bottom again. So that's not a promise. But it was my intention to never say that again because who knows when the bottom is. But I am optimistic. I appreciate everybody that was on the chat today, on the live stream, and all of your comments and everything. So thank you guys so much, everybody, regardless of whatever's going on in the market. And actually, we had a good day in the market. So for once, Friday was an up day. So I hope everybody has an awesome weekend. Thanks so much for joining, and we will see you in the next one.